Hello everyone. Well, it's that time of year again. We're coming up now to the summer break for the universities, and many of the students, as they're breaking up, there'll be those that have graduated this year that are looking now to what they're going to be doing in the future. Maybe some will be going on to further education, whilst others will be looking at starting new career paths. So many are concerned about what their futures are ahead. And this makes me also very busy on iTalki, because I'm, for the last few weeks and currently, I'm busy teaching many students, particularly Chinese students, how to prepare for the various selection processes for either getting a job or a post, a new career start, or with the students that are going to be coming back next year, but are looking to try and get some sort of internship over the summer break, or get taken up for some management training program with some of the big organizations. So we're working hard to get them to the interview stage and get them on to the wherever they want to be. Now, you know, recruiting employees and training them, etc., for most organizations is a very expensive process, actually. So they really want to try and get things right at the beginning. For instance, you know, Mars Wrigley, which is the biggest confectionery company in the world, actually, they take on about a few hundred new graduates every year. And it's the same this year. But if we look at the number of graduates that are actually graduating, just in China alone, there's near 10 million graduating from university this year. Now, Mars Wrigley have a few hundred vacancies for graduates, but to date, they've had over 50,000 applications from candidates. Normally, in the past, they've taken on a lot of extra staff at this time of year to help them process the applications and to get through the selection process. And it's normally taken them in the past up to 2 months to conclude and get down and get the final candidates in line. But now it's all changing. Now they're building these strategies, they're using technology and AI and various aspects to try and ensure that they can speed the process up and still get high caliber candidates into the jobs that they've got. So this is done by what we're seeing getting bigger and bigger, competency-based interviews, where they ask specific questions that identify the strengths and skills, etc., of the students or the applicants. So it's getting ready to face these sort of interviews that a lot of the students are worried about. So there's various aspects. In this video today, I'm going to be just covering the application process, where you're sending off your CV and your covering letter. But to get that covering letter and your CV together and make it through to the next part of the process, whatever it is, you have to do a lot of research and a lot of thinking and a lot of working to get it spot on, to make sure you look attractive to whoever's processing it. And this will be done by people, the initial process of the letters and the CVs to get them onto the system. But once they're on the system, it becomes a lot more automated. So it's important to get this aspect right, for sure. How did we do it? Well, we've got to look at studying the company, deep study, looking at all their mission statements and their ethics and all the various things they say that the company stands for. We have to know, and we have to incorporate their values into our values when we're producing the letter. Also, we've got to completely study the post that's being advertised and that you're applying for to see what skills and strengths that demands also, so that we can also prepare our letter and indeed answers to questions in the future based on these particular skills and aspects and strengths. So if you want to know more on how to do this, then please keep watching, because we're going to progress into that now. Hello everyone, so back again now to talk about how we actually go about applying for the position that we want. Well, let me start by saying that it's never ever too early to start thinking about what you're going to want to do in the future. I would suggest that if you're just starting at university, you start thinking about it right away, because it will give you the initiative and the impetus to work towards where you want to be in 3 years or more time. So never too early to start. So you need to identify what you want to do when you've finished at university. Identify what companies or organizations you would like to join. When do they recruit? Are they recruiting now? When do they start the recruiting process? And find out about as much of the recruiting process as you possibly can. Totally research each opportunity. The companies and the institutions or organizations get their mission statements, their ethics principles, products, services, etc. Find out absolutely everything you can about them. All the information will come in helpful and will show that you're fully enthusiastic about working with these organizations or companies when you actually get your interview. Find out what the application process is. Nowadays, the majority of them are done online, but there are still some, the smaller companies, etc., ask you to post in your CV with a covering letter. Some of the larger ones online, when they ask you to apply online, they also say you can attach a covering letter if you so wish. I would strongly suggest you do if it's an option, but there's others that are just interested in your hard skills, your qualifications, so they only want to see your CV, and that's all they will make their judgment on. So just your qualifications. So making your CV or your resume, as some people call it, you need to decide on what sort of format you need to use for your particular application. Some countries, they do not like you putting your photograph on, because it can be it can lead to sort of gender problems where people have certain preferences for the gender, etc. So better, and other countries, they encourage you to put your photograph on. Also, your photograph can come into it about colour, ethnicity, etc. So check on what the normal is in the country that you're applying. For instance, in China, I know a lot of people do put their photographs onto their CV. And decide on the format of your CV. There's many formats to look at, and so do a bit of homework and research on that and what you like. I have several students working in China, Thailand, etc., and around this area, and each of them are different. It comes down to your own preferences, but you have got to make sure it gives all the necessary details, and that's all it really is, and lay it out in a format that's pleasant to you, and hopefully will be pleasant to the person who's reviewing it when they get a chance to. I normally advise my students to design their own and submit it to me, and I will comment. Sometimes they change, sometimes it's perfect. It really is an individual thing. Now, your covering letter. Now, I want to just say something about your covering letter, actually, because your covering letter is very, very important if indeed you need to submit one or you want to submit one. But what I'd like to say to you is all the information that you put on your covering letter is the information that you will want to incorporate in the big question when you do go to interview tell me something about yourself. Because all the enthusiasm that you write in the covering letter about why you want to join that particular company, what you can bring to the party to assist, and the various skills you have, and what you've done right, etc., and why you want to be with them, etc., all needs to be in the answer to that question as well. So practicing writing the letter is also a very good way of also practicing that question and getting it all right. I give my students some aspects to work on, like if they're giving out their presentation at a meeting or at a video meeting, to start with thanking them for the chance to be there. They give their name, their education, etc. Thanking them for the possibility of being interviewed for this position that they're interested in. And even if they don't get it, it doesn't matter, because it's a valuable experience and hopefully will be coming handy in the future. But you really want to get this position because you go through all the advantages that you see and really lay there onto them why you really want to work for that company. So we'll cover it. I'm going to be covering that in my next video in depth. But I just want to say that the question, tell me something about yourself, is often the make and break question. It's normally one of the very first questions you get, and it can be the make and break question whether you're going to be successful or not. It depends how well you have that practiced, rehearsed, everything, getting it so it's so fluent and comes away so naturally when you're speaking. My students, this is the first thing we review every lesson we meet. Let me hear your, tell me something about yourself. And all the time it's improving the comments, the fluency of the information coming out. It sounds natural, it sounds very good. Do not use vocabulary and grammar that you may hear others encouraging you to use online, because what might sound natural for them may not sound natural for you, just because you're different personalities, and every personality's got their own way of putting things. And if you're trying to copy somebody that speaks 100% perfect English and uses complex grammar and vocabulary, it might, and you're a Chinese student or a foreign student, it will probably look totally out of character and out of place. So better you don't do that, actually. So as I say here, if there's no cover letter required, whether or not you need a cover letter, the information what you would include on the letter is very important, and will also be needed to interview in one specific question. Tell me about yourself. The most important question of all. Many careers are won or lost with this question. It's just saying what I've just already told you. So, let's talk about soft skills now. Be aware of the soft skills that are required to be effective in the role. Now then, you need to research your own soft skills, what you think your skills are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. You need to try and make yourself aware of all these things, and we'll be covering that in the very next video that I make. I think that's going to be the next video I make, and we'll be talking about all that aspect. But being aware of the skills that are required to do the job or the role that you are actually applying for is very, very crucial. More than important, it's absolutely crucial, because they will have all their keywords, etc., in there, what they want to hear about the skills that you're going to be talking to, the listening, the communication, the confidence, the teamwork, positive attitude, creativity, persuasion, flexibility, alertness, activeness, and accountability. This is just some of the aspects, and you need to know, as I said before, what's important for the post that you're applying for. So let's look at some specific skills for the specific jobs that you may be looking at. Now, this video is slightly geared, as you may see, particularly towards new graduates coming out, or graduates coming up towards the final year that are looking for internships, or maybe some management, junior management opportunities and by using their holiday time to work with companies. So, engineering graduates, what's the essential engineering skills that are normally required to secure engineering positions? Well, accuracy, agility, attention to detail, a commitment of ongoing skills, a commitment of ongoing education, you want to progress and get better qualifications as time goes on. Communication skills, creative thinking, mastery of relevant software, mathematical ability, which we all know is very important for engineering. Being an engineer, I know about all this very well. Innovation, and most of all is applicable with nearly every job that you will come across, 100% important, a team worker, someone that works as part of a team. And the two most important ones I think that always apply no matter what job you're in is team workers and communication skills, the ability to get on with others and get the messages across effectively. So that's two particular skills. So that's for engineers. Now then, let's look at the finance aspect. What you really need to know for finance. Training and education, that's a hard skill, and that really does come into it, of course, because that's something that you've been working at university on. So that's a hard skill. Interpersonal skills, once again, that's communication skills again. Ability to communicate, aptitude for financial reporting, analytical know-how, problem-solving skills, knowledge of IT software, management experience, where possible. So that's the sort of skills that they're looking for in the financial world. So let's go on and look at some of the adverts that I found today actually on the internet looking for particular graduate roles. And this one was for computer sciences actually. So let me go through it first, and I'll show you the way that I analyse it and the way that I think you should do as well. So in the advert it says, in this development role, we understand you may not possess a wealth of experience because you're a graduate, obviously, and whilst implementation exposure, particularly in SAA 5 products, and experience in the management and support of business systems would be beneficial. We are more focused on your behaviours and potential to grow. Having or due to complete a degree, ideally in engineering, computing science or a related field, you'll have a passion for all things digital and be enthusiastic to implement your learning to date into a practical environment. So the computer people amongst us who are applying for this sort of job, they have got to really show that they eat, dream, sleep, drink digital aspects, and it's totally in their whole being. With a willingness to learn, you'll have an interest in the product life cycle and be able to showcase strong core technical competence alongside a customer-centric approach. What's that about? Well, once again, that's about communication skills, so you can communicate with everybody. Operating as a true team player, you'll be keen to hone your stakeholder management skills by utilising your strong communication skills to sell process improvement ideas where possible. But once again, communication skills and improve ideas where possible, that's innovation, that's innovative, that's thinking how you can do things in a better way. As part of your application, please include a cover letter. So this company wants a cover letter addressing the points below. Why are you interested in joining the @ONE Alliance? And what behaviours and values will you bring to the role and at A1 Alliance? So there you go, covering letter, and they're asking you to already say what you're going to be bringing to the party and why you want to be joining that particular. The next advert I came across, they were looking for a various assortment of engineers actually. So the highlighted bits, working with us as a graduate engineer, you will have the opportunity to be involved in a wide-ranging projects from start to finish. You will also be involved in day-to-day engineering activities, including inspections, emergency works, new construction, contractor and consultants engagement. So you can see there's a huge variety of aspects that you're going to be involved working with this particular company, and that's a thing that you really would emphasize that really attracts you to the job, that's going to be so varied and give you so much experience that it would be a very positive company to work for. We offer an engineering graduate development program where you will experience different parts of our engineering and project teams. You will also work closely with other departments in the business. Teamwork, once again, teamwork. Skills and qualifications, a relevant degree, a hard skill. Able to apply academic skills, yes. Analyze, interpret and explain data, analytical skills. Good engineering awareness, good organizational skills, organization. Keen to explore new things, innovative, and good people skills, again, teamwork. Benefits, working with a very diverse, multidisciplined environment, be part of a fantastic team, teamwork. Work with very experienced, knowledgeable and capable individuals, communication, and work towards being professionally qualified, working towards the future where you can get your charter or whatever the advanced qualifications you can achieve in your position. So there you go, that one's easily analysed, and your thought process should be guiding yourself around all these aspects that they're mentioned there, and how you as a person fit into that environment, and how you could explain what they are saying there that interests you during your time. Tell me about you, or in your covering letter. Very important. The last one I've got here is I think this was this is finance. So day-to-day responsibilities of the role: assisting with operation of the business, customer onboarding, reporting, controls, reconciliations. Supporting the underwriting team in assessing potential customers and monitoring existing customers. Teamwork. Liaising with sales teams, management and partners. Communications. It's a small team, so you'll be assisting management with various administration tasks, including some accounting and general administrative tasks, and a number of ad hoc projects. Teamwork. Teamwork, 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 communication. The ideal candidate's personality and qualifications: educated to graduate level, experience in finance, credit control, or an operations type role within finance. Good A-level grades, very organised. Oh, that goes without saying, organisation, very organised. And when they say that, they mean your time management skills in that as well, which is another skill. Time management skills and very organised, knowing, planning your day and sticking to your plan. Proactive, able to multitask and work in a fast-paced role. Now this comes down again to your time management, and able to multitask, fit everything in and be able to adapt to changes quickly. Strong work ethics, yes. Excellent written and verbal English. Obviously that helps. Good Excel skills, well, all these sort of computer skills, hard skills again, but you obviously need to know how to use them, and also the various accounting software packages as applicable also. And that you get excited to work at a fast-growing fintech startup. This one says, no cover letters, please submit your CV to be considered. So they're only interested in your qualifications, and anything else of real relevance that you might be able to slip in 2 sentences on your CV, starting with, after you've given your main details, your name, your qualifications, etc. You say, I am a very motivated individual that enjoys working under pressure and working to schedules and to achieve within specific time limits. So there you go. That's that one. You need to go through what they're saying and extract the ideas from the text and make a list of them, and then thinking, okay, now how am I going to, if I'm going to apply to this one, how am I going to, and I get asked about something, how am I going to tie this in with my answer out to them? So that's the way to do it. So let's move on. The selection process. So you have already applied and got a positive response. Way, the ball is rolling. Moving on to the selection process, this can be done in several ways, and I've seen some very strange, recently I've had a lot of students go through these. And just lately I've seen one or two strange processes as well, but they say they're very effective. Some of these group selection processes, and I'll tell you about it in a moment, but you may need one or two video interviews. A lot of companies do that. They give a first video interview just to break down the number of candidates close to what the number that they require, and then they really go back in once again, but this time much more positive. This is the final aspect. If you get past the second video recording, then the video interview, then you're well on your way to getting the offer of whatever you're seeking. And the second interview, but you should be ready all the time to be able to impress them with your personal skills and your strengths and the way that you, and the positive aspect that you have to join this company and work for them and really enjoy it and be part of their team and really be able to provide something that enhances the whole environment that you're working in. I've also heard that one of my students recently, a very, very good student, has already had two offers of good jobs, which was going for a third interview, and they asked her to take part in a treasure hunt. And the treasure hunt was quite difficult, and she wasn't prepared for it really, and maybe that's partially my fault, because we thought about more questionings and things about the actual aspect of the role and what she can bring, etc. But this was completely away from the job itself, and it was putting pressure on a group of students to see who could keep coming back for the next aspect, the next phase, the next aspect, the next phase. And my particular student gave up halfway through. She wasn't enjoying it. She wasn't really into the way it was running. So she withdrew, and that, of course, finished her there. But it's, when I read about this afterwards, it is these kind of game-type selection processes is also becoming more popular. So I would say it's absolutely critical as well when you're doing your research on your companies, etc. Try and research the type of interviews that they do and how it works out. Some of the big organizations and big companies, if you go on the internet, and if you might have a problem if you're in China unless you're using a VPN, but I see many on YouTube, etc., students that have applied for the various big companies, one of the big four, or some of the engineering concerns, or some of the other top companies in the world, and their experience of going, they give you their experience of going to the interview, going through the process, etc., and then the advantages that they've found since they joined the company that they're with. All these aspects are areas that you need to research, and you need to try and make, as I was saying right at the beginning, a short list of people, companies or organisations that you would really enjoy working for, and you think you could really progress within these people, and then do lots and lots of research on them. Write it all down. Get to know it, because it's not wasted. It will temper you towards the process when you're looking to actually get a job with them. So please think about that and do it. Working through the questions, as I say, that's going to be my next my next video. While I'm talking about that, I'd very much appreciate it if you could subscribe and ring the bell, and then you will know that when the next video is coming up, and you'll be able to come back and see it, and it would be appreciated to me, and it would help me also. Thank you. So no matter how the process progresses, at some point you are going to face some questions to assess your competency for the role. Your attitude, personality and strengths and weaknesses will all be interrogated, and they will work out exactly the sort of person you are just from your answers to their questions. It is vitally important that you work on answering these questions by using the STAR method. And what do I mean by the STAR method? If you don't know about it, read it up, check it out. The STAR method stands for the situation. What was the situation that you're going to talk about that relates to the question that you have been asked? And from that situation, what tasks did you identify that you had to do to remedy the situation or improve the situation? The actions that you took, that's the A from STAR. The actions that you took and what you actually done to improve the situation. And the result from what you've done, that's important. So most of these questions, these competency questions, need to be answered by the STAR method, where you pick a situation, you tell them what the problem was, how you decided it should be remedied, how you remedied it, and what the end results were. You can actually, and as I do, and I will happily admit it, being in university and studying for some of these degrees is difficult, I know, and you don't have a lot of time. Many students do get involved in extracurriculum activities and working with people or organisations to improve local aspects and maybe help deprived children and things like that. So you can relate back to these particular instances where you've been under pressure to fulfill some community tasks or something. If not, think of one, dream one up and think of what the problem was and how you would, if they had that problem, how you would attack that problem, how you would sort it out and what the result should be. Then convince yourself, keep practicing, keep practicing. In the end, you'll think you've actually done it. That's true. So that's some of the aspects that we use. For some of the questions are quite obscure, really, and if you want to be good answering them, you have to be thinking in an obscure way as well. Just on that, and very briefly, if you've got absolutely no experience in the particular question they're asking you, don't try to bluff it out. Say, well, actually, I don't have any experience in that aspect, but maybe you can relate something else very similar to answer the question. So that's what I'm saying here. So there we are. Questions that you may be asked and that you should be thinking about. Obviously, the big one is tell me something about yourself. That is always the biggest question. As stated previously, potentially the most important question you will be asked. It will always come near the beginning, so therefore it gives the biggest effect and it tempers the rest of the interview. Because if you give a really good introduction and you cover your strengths and the way you would approach it and what you can bring and how enthusiastic you are to work for this organisation, you really, really want this position, etc., then you put a good impression across then the rest of the interview is easy. But you still have to be prepared for it. Common other questions. Tell me about a time when you led a challenging project. What was that and how did you manage it? Describe one time when you helped your manager solve a problem. What did you do? Tell me something you learned that you applied to your work. Can you give me an example of a difficult situation with a colleague or a customer? How did you manage it? How did you increase revenue in the companies you worked with? Obviously, for a graduate, that's not really going to be a question that they would ask you. Do you have an example of when your manager wasn't happy with your performance? How did you discuss it and what did you do differently? Now there's another one that you can turn over and say, if they were asking you, have you been in a situation where you've had a problem, you can discuss about somebody else in your team having a problem and discussing that problem with them and finding out what their problem was and assisting them and getting them back on track and getting team success for everybody. Tell me about a time when you worked successfully in a team environment. See, team environments, everybody's interested in people that can fall into a team and that are not individuals who find it hard to work with other people. And can you tell me of a time when you had to make a difficult decision? Well, there you go. So that's the type of questions we're looking at, but we're doing that next in my next video. So as I say, keep an eye open. It will be here in the next few days. And I think it would be important because I do have a lot of valuable experience in this field with the many students that I have now. And it's this time of year when we're coming up to the holiday season from soon till September, when people are doing many things. And many people are looking at the opportunities and starting to think about applying and what they've got to say. What I would say to them that are just waiting for this break to start analysing it and doing it, you're leaving it very, very late. You should have started it a year ago. Even if it was your first year at university, you should start following the trend, seeing what's been said, and working towards what you want to achieve at the end. So as I say, I've coached many students through these selection processes, and this time I've been 100% successful. Not all have got to the final interview yet, and there's a lot of them waiting for it, because this is a big recruitment time in many organisations and companies. But virtually everyone that's had the initial aspects, several of them had these new AI interviews where they're interviewed by a AI person on a computer, and that will be a video in a very short future as well. So it's another one that you need to pay attention to, because this is becoming more and more relevant, particularly when you look at the amount of graduates we have and people looking for jobs, that I think in due time, many organisations, including all these various employment agencies and headhunters, etc., they will be using these aspects as well, because it lets them work through a lot of students or a lot of applicants very, very quickly and assess the ones that they want to take forward to the next stage. So I will be doing a video on that shortly, and right after the questions video. That's when that will be. So once again, it'd be worth subscribing and ringing the bell, please, and I would appreciate that also. So that's it for me for now. That's the application process, and that's the thought process more about what you should be thinking now and how you should be planning your future and working to have a successful career ahead of you. And no matter whether you, no matter what you do, I wish you success in gaining the future that you want. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.